Right, well, good morning guys. Another beautiful morning here in Fiji. So we're all staying at this resort called the Bayview Cove. Yeah, it's about a 35-minute drive from the airport here. And then once you get to the water, which is just the end of this path, it's about a 40-minute boat ride to Cloudbreak, so it's pretty convenient. And we're all staying in these little houses. This one has, not sure actually who's in that one, but you can tell the windsurfers have taken over with the amount of bags that everyone has. Bures, that's the word I was looking for. Bures. I said houses, but. And there's an average 4 sailors per bure. This is Ricardo's, Brazinho, and Robbie Swift. And Jace Panabianco from Poor Boys Productions, which is so sick to have him here. He's made a lot of windsurf films, so it's been good chatting with him. And at 7, I've got a media meeting chatting about how we're going to document this event on the competition day. So I'll film that as well, so you guys can listen in and with what's going on. So most people are still asleep. This is low tide at the moment. So when it's low tide, the boat can't get into here to pick you up and, to get to Cloudbreak. So you've got to drive up the coast a bit. So if you can, you obviously want to time your boat ride with high tide. Look at this, Fiji actually has coconuts. It's not just on the postcard. Beach volleyball. Ah, this is a good spot. I haven't been here yet. The water around here, because it's like mangrovey, it's pretty muddy. The water's brown, so you don't really want to swim just here, but when you go up through there and around the corner, that's when the water just gets incredibly clear. Like you could be in 20 meters of water and still see the bottom like clear. So it's pretty crazy the difference in the water in such a short distance. Oh, the crew are waking up. I can see movement. Bula, bro. Bula.
thought that was a bit small. And then he's gone on to do a lot of music video and work with the biggest music artists in the world. So he's worked with Kanye and decided that wasn't going to be. And then he's worked with all the big names, like Adam Garrison from them, but he's done an awful lot of that big stuff. And he's offered to help me and us with this event, with a live TV, and she wants to call a live broadcast, wants to stop calling it live stream because he's trying to get it up to this level.
Yeah.
And he sees this as a great opportunity to sort of take all the things that we're doing, but present it in a way that eventually could be brought out, media rights brought out by some of the big players. And thankfully he knows exactly how to do that.
Cool. Well, thank you for helping us.
Well, I'm happy to be here. It's beautiful in Fiji.
Yeah, he's doing it for a bottle of whiskey and some good times, so we're incredibly lucky to have him.
Not just one bottle.
No, not just one bottle of whiskey.
Jason's got his bottle of whiskey in the fridge, I've seen already, so he's got...
It may take two.
Maybe more. By the end of this, it might need much more. Now, Brian will run the show this morning. I just want to make sure everyone's introduced.
Okay. Yeah. And we're waiting for Jace.
Jace is coming. He said he's on for 7 and he's waking up at 7:05.
I just saw him 2 seconds ago. He asked me so what time is it? And I was like,
Exactly.
7 o'clock. He said, oh. I didn't know he had a meeting.
And Paul and Sophie will come over as well.
Fantastic.
Now, Paul and Sophie are less critical. They're doing their own photos thing, of course.
Yeah.
But Jace is super critical. Also, Ian is coming this morning to have a chat because Ian's going to be obviously needing to know all the things that are going on. I'm just sending him an outline of the day for the boats that we're going to meet.
Yeah, I saw your email last night. How's it looking now? I haven't even...
Yeah, let's look now.
Oh, what's the Wi-Fi here?
Bayview Cove, and it's Bayview 2 with a capital B.
I'm sharing password with you. There you go. No, you're already on it. Okay.
Quick little thumbs.
So Thursday is now looking epic.
Thursday as in the first?
The first.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, because it's big still on Thursday, yeah? And another wind came back.
Yeah, the wind has come back. Now, that's so close now that we can start to take it seriously.
Oh, yeah. There's a little rain in the forecast, but I mean, I guess Wingu is pretty good, isn't it?
Yes, it's probably the best for wind. Now, the wind forecast according to Surfline is that at 12 it's only 10 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. At 1 it's 16 miles an hour, which means we could start. Mm-hmm. And then it runs through till 8 p.m. with 17 miles an hour.
So that's pretty much what Wingu is saying too.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday also looks
it's all
good,
pumped
man.
up.
It's only after that front comes through and then it's...
Yeah.
Wow,
now,
that's great.
So,
come on, let's do this. That'd be awesome.
So Friday is now, it's a bit too light, although it gets windy late, but that's too late for us.
Yeah, on Wingu Friday looks dodgy.
And then Saturday looks like it's a possible day, but too light really. Yeah. It's then Sunday, Monday, as we expected.
Yeah. Oh, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Because there's a good little swell coming Sunday, Monday too, yeah?
Yes. Now, Sunday, Monday are the first 2 days. With FBC, our fundamental bit of event geometry is that they're covering this Rugby Super 8 from June 1, 2 and 3. The earliest they can be here is June 4. Yeah. So we can do all of our normal media capture on those first days, however we want to run that. But we can't do the live stream in the full TV broadcast sense until they get here on the 4th and 5th. So the idea is to capture all of the media and then look at the finals day. The first day is huge, but we won't get through a whole contest on one day. Unless we want to, because that's a pretty epic day.
How's the wind looking? Is it?
It's improved a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So last night I was going to bed going, oh, well, it's nice to be on Fiji. But this morning it's looking solid.
Have you seen the 10th and 11th now as well on Surfline?
So I'm looking now.
Go look.
The wind is from the wrong directions.
Is that wrong, that southwest wind?
Yeah, we need southeast.
Yeah. Oh, so that's still getting affected by that bad storm.
Yeah.
And southwest is what, like side on? I mean, that's pretty far away though still.
Exactly, man. It changes
heaps.
heaps.
There's a swell in there.
I think it's side on to the point where you couldn't ride it.
No, but I think that when you see a swell, that at least means the swell will probably be there, and then the wind changes so much, doesn't it? You never know. Even the 8th and the 9th, there's good swell.
Yeah.
So if that wind changes around.
Well, exactly. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, one of the things that we've got to look at is this is this. And Brian will describe how he wants to put together this broadcast.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be good for everyone, no question. It's a no-brainer. We need to have a chat about everyone. I've been talking with everyone just to get everyone's vibes about it all. Is how do we set ourselves up so that we can, in a way that the riders are happy with, and the budget can maintain, and the forecast delivers. How can we deliver that finals day? How can we get to that finals day so that everyone feels like that's a great way to do it?
Yeah, I think, but I mean, would like to defer to that whole wave committee to see what they think and what all the riders are still here.
I'd like to do that too.
I don't know if the dingle just a straight single even just to make you get there, but then it's a bit harsh. Because the dingle does take a lot longer, doesn't it?
Way longer.
That's the scary thing.
It is.
4 and 2 go through single, you get that dumping pit.
The basic mechanics, without getting into all the details of how we would do it in detail, if we do a single but have long heats so that everyone feels like they're getting a second chance if they have a mistake or break a gear or something like that, then we can get round one for all divisions for men and women done on that day one of qualifying. If we run through that, that's a solid long day. Sorry everyone, hi. Morning. Good morning. Now everyone knows Brian at the end here.
Hey, Brian. Nice to meet you. Very well.
Yeah.
He's my brother-in-law. Yeah. Married in.
And this is Paul and Sophie.
Yeah, we met yesterday.
So Jace, we're just going through the structure of the week and how we're aligning the best competition with the best media, with the conditions, and something that the riders feel delivers for them. But delivers for them in amazing waves with just the most perfect media coverage we can imagine. And so there are basically, it looks to me like there are basically two options that we've been discussing. And as always in any wave competition, we've got the option of a single, which is the shortest, the fastest. We've got the option of a dingle, which adds quite a bit of time, but is extra fair. And then we've got the option of a double, which in some circumstances is terrific as well. All three have their advantages. What we're looking at here is a double looks like it's a risky business out here, for all sorts of reasons, we won't go into it, but the single looks like it's the fastest and most secure, and if we were to do a single, it's 1 day of qualifying day, which would be the first round, and we do as long heats as we could manage so everyone gets the fairest possible chance. And then the top two from heats of 4 go into the quarters, and then that first day is then done and you go into finals day, which would give you 16 men and 8 women. And finals day would be 10 heats, which would give you 4 quarters for the men, 2 semis for the women, 2 semis for the men, a final for the women, and a final for the men, and then awards party celebration. Cool. So the broadcast for that finals day would be an intro that would start broadcasting at 11:30. I'm just jumping through, Brian, here's some basic things.
Yeah.
Comp structure. So
Yeah, go for it.
first heat can start at 12 because of our exclusive use for we run through that finals day run, and those heats are as long as we can make them with a reasonable forecast and safety. And then at the end of that, we go straight into awards. We top and tail the competition basically. The intro Brian will describe, and then we have a whole lot of content that runs through, and then this big celebration at the end. And then that's kind of a broadcast. How we get to that finals day is what's under discussion, because if we do 1 day, then we can be precise about the best waves and the best conditions for all the riders all the time. If we add then a dingle day, which is basically a second qualifying day, for one of the language and the lingo, that second qualifying day adds our dingle day and second chance redemption rounds and things like that. If we want to do that, that's an option. I think that the only thing that's really hard here is the double, but I think that it depends on what the riders committee, the wave committee wants.
I think we need to be really... So, but you need to do the first day thinking that it's either going to be a single or a dingle. So you need to know before you start the first day.
Really we do.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, because it'd be nice to decide that based on, the forecast changed, let's just skip that dingle, or yeah, it looks really good for the next 2 days, we will be able to do it, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. We have an option where we don't have to know that ahead of time if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, well the option there would be to say, we've got 32, which is not an ideal dingle number, but that's irrelevant. If we take, I think the idea is that in that first round, we don't want to stop the top two going through, because that's the fairest thing. So the top two will always go through. So I looked at all these options of one going through, and we don't like that round. The top two go through, which gives you 16, and then the bottom two will fight it out for 7. Either the bottom two fight it out for heats of 4 and top two, and they join and now we have 24. If you have 24, we have the option of running heats of 3 and 2 go through, and if we get 3 times
And you make it way longer.
we can get back to a 16. But then we've added the redemption round plus a round 3.
A lot.
It's a lot. Now we can do it probably in 2 days, but it starts to put pressure on us to reduce those heat lengths. And if we do that, we start to make it hard for riders who get into some trouble at
I think it's probably best to discuss it just with everybody and see what everybody feels like, because it seems like the simplest, most sensible thing would be just to do a single with very long heats, or as long as you think it's comfortable.
But that's, without a doubt, that's the cleanest thing to do.
4 and 2 go through is a lot fairer than just a regular single with man on man, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a lot more time. I mean, if you're comparing it to a double, say, in Gran Canaria, where you've got 12-minute heats or 13-minute heats, you obviously get 2 chances for that. That's 24-minute heats, and that's what we can deliver.
Yeah.
And then we've also man on man compared to 4 men with 2 going through, the probabilities improve a lot. So, yeah, as you've said, like
I think that's just talk to everybody, but I would prefer just a straight single with the long heats, because it's so dodgy out there with the wind, like to try and say we're going to run 3 whole days of full 4 or 5 hours, it's going to be really hard.
You don't know. Yeah.
Like the worst case scenario is not finishing and not getting a
That's the worst case scenario, exactly, which we all want to avoid, yeah.
Right.
What was Ricardo so adamant about the dingle for?
No, he likes the idea of not doing a double for the same reason, but the dingle thing is what we normally would like to do when there's not a double, because it does give people a little bit of a second chance, but then it almost has as much time as the double. The nice thing about the single is you do get a result, and then you get to do the double to make it fair afterwards, and if it doesn't finish, it doesn't really matter because you've already had a result. The nice thing about the dingle is you kind of get to the end, you don't have to have a second round of going through, and then there's a second sort of, not really ceremony, but you get the winners twice, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, from a media standpoint, it's kind of
Just going through and finishing is nice, but then for a finishing it standpoint, it's kind of risky to do a dingle because it makes it take much longer and you don't have a result until you finish it.
It is much longer, you think?
Much longer, yeah. It's not than doing a single. A single is by far the fastest. But then if we're just only going to have a single, and the other good thing about the 4 and 2 go through is you do break up the points like a lot better than you do with when you just do a single with man on man.
You get a much better breakdown.
You get a more different positions.
Yeah, a finer breakdown.
Which is more like a double sort of.
It's halfway.
So that's out of a single, but doing
4 and 2 go
men
through.
and 2 go
Which
through.
you can only do when there's only waves, which is probably what we would normally always do actually, if it wasn't for jumps, because you can't judge 4 people, one jumping over there, one jumping one way, right? You can't physically see it all. So that's why I like that way better, and it's only wave riding.
So single with 4 men.
2 goes through.
And longest heats possible.
Is that gives
So
them
you
the
have the
fairest.
chance. If you mess up
And
first
then
wave,
the
you
only
also-
harsh thing is the seeding. It gets reduced. The good and bad of the seeding gets reduced by doing a double or a dingle or whatever, and that you don't mitigate with that 4 and 2. But everything else, like the breaking of gear and it being too short, you do mitigate. And also the seeding, you mitigate it a little bit because you might have the 2 best guys in the first heat, but they can go together all the way.
Then you can have an extra heat to separate 5th, 6th, or whatever.
Yeah,
if
no,
there
but
is time.
they're separated because of if they came 3rd or 4th in the heat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you see any pushback from the riders with this?
I think that in this event, I doubt it. And like in Maui, if you're only going to do wave riding, probably not either. But like, it would be cool to do jumps in Maui. We're getting out
If we
topic
can.
here, but
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
somebody who breaks their gear in this event in their heat
Yeah.
is going to be bummed.
super bummed.
Well, yes, but what we saw last time was all the keen riders had 2 full sets of gear.
Yeah.
And we saw people lose some gear, and the jet ski go in and say, well, the gear's gone, you're not going to
Yeah.
pick that up. But they picked the rider up, and they drove them straight back to the boat, which
Yeah.
is very, very close.
Yeah.
And they were back out in the lineup
They
with
had time.
with
Yeah.
almost no downtime.
Yeah.
Almost no.
Yeah, you've got to have your other gear there ready.
If you
Yeah,
break
you got to
your
be
other,
professional. Right?
if you break your other gear, then it means maybe you should slow down at pushing the first couple of waves. You could you lose your
Oh
gear
no,
on the
last
second
year was
round
long.
as
I think
well.
we did longer than last year. I think we did
No,
40
last-
minutes. We did last year.
We did long. We did 28 and 2 last year.
Oh, 20 and 2. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That'd be last year a little longer then.
But they were super long, and we'll do all the maths and we'll work all the
Yeah.
stuff out.
And you were super light last year.
It was like,
If
yeah.
the wind is what they say will
Yeah,
be,
it's like,
okay,
unless,
easier.
like I'd like to look at that. This kind of like what they look at the surfing. That it's not really the wind that's the problem; it's the waves. So that's why like they seem to be able to get the good waves in 30 minutes. 30 minutes sounds like a good number to me.
Now, that's the competition structure, so now that we've had that thing, I'd like to move the direction back to Brian so he can talk to us about this finals day. I think what we've established now is we have options, and we'll discuss it with the wave committee about how we get to finals day. But over to Brian about talking
Yeah.
about how that day's going to run.
So, as of now, and I don't know if any of that changed, that discussion changed it, but what we're talking about doing is on the finals day, doing the men's quarters, the men's semis, the men's finals, and the women's semis and the women's finals. So there's kind of good coverage for both men and women. We obviously have more male riders, so we'll include the quarterfinals in there. And I think overall, like, we want to look at this broadcast like a full, comprehensive, an informative show. I think, when we were looking at the coverage from last year and whatnot, it felt a little dragged on, and it felt like we were probably could use a couple more cameras. I think that there's a way to add some more cameras, and I think that there's also a way to bring more information into the broadcast, because I do think, one of the things that Simi and I have been talking about is not like necessarily growing the sport per se, and not like adding more windsurfers, which I think is kind of a high bar for entry and for a lot of people. But I think that there's also something about growing interest because you're giving interesting, informative broadcasts, and that you're kind of associating yourself with like if I'm not a snowboarder, but if Sean White is on snowboarding and tuned in, like, and it's a good competition, like, as a sports kind of fan, I'm into it. And I think that there's also a way of bringing that type of a presentation to windsurfing, so that you grow your audience without necessarily growing the sport per se. And that's kind of, I think, the path that Simi and I have at least been talking about in the last couple weeks as we've been kind of batting this around. The show, right now we're on for a noon start, and we're talking maybe 23 and 2 or something like that, 28 and 2, 18 and 2. There's been a couple different things passed around, but we start at noon. Prior to that, 11:30, what we're proposing is to have a bit of a quote unquote pre-show, and Jace, I think it would be really interesting with both you and Kai sitting there going through the pre-show and talking about what's to come. Eden, you can do it all in your own way, but I think, it's like, hello everybody, welcome to Cloud Break. We've had an awesome week this week. The waves have really been coming in. When riders first arrived, we saw some of the biggest waves. It got everybody, primed and ready and tasted for it. There's a couple bits of additional media that I'm gonna just pull up so that you can see them while I talk through it. But one of them that I wanted to do is it's basically a 60-second bit that talks about Cloud Break. It's an overview of Cloud Break. Like, this is how the break works. I think with a couple drone shots up above, you can really see how the break wraps off the reef, and we can throw a couple little wind graphics and a couple arrows that show, you know, this is the point, this is the middles, and here's shish kebabs. You don't want to get caught down on the inside. But it's something that I think brings people into the physicality of cloud break, because like when I was looking at this, I was like, I didn't even understand what it was. You don't like, I thought, oh, it was just off the shore somewhere, but you know, you're out in the middle of the ocean, and I think
You do the map first.
yeah,
Map first, then biometrics.
yeah,
second.
map, yeah, all this stuff. So I think what we want to do is make a little pre-made 60-second video of it that can be spoken over.
Who's making that? Am I making that?
Me,
Sure, man.
Trishan, you, like I think, yeah. What I'd love to do is talk through all of the different bits, and then actually kind of walk away from this saying like, we got this, you got that. This is how, you know, and divide it up, because there's some other things that I think would also be great to help out on as well. But I certainly. Another thing too, I think is important is that we are here in Fiji, and you know. So what I'm also looking at is, I'm going to have a conversation with Fiji Tourism today, is to see what other kind of footage they have of like something that talks a little bit about the spirit of Fiji and the vibe here on Fiji. It's also just something to put in that's informative for the viewer at home, to kind of, that also places us, because I think the idea, and maybe even the Fiji thing would come first, because I think the idea is like, here we are on Fiji, here we are on Cloud Break. Here's a little recap about our week here, and a couple of these things are like a 60-second recap of like the greatest hits of some of the women writers, and some greatest hits on the male writers. Something that is a nice kind of flashy, edited thing that then can also spur the conversation about the different writers, what's brought us here today for the quarterfinals. There's also, I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet. Interviews. What we were definitely thinking, take, you know, eight male writers, 4 female writers, and get some interviews with them. Just kind of talking about. I think one topic is just talking about Cloud Break, talking about being here in Fiji. What's this like? What is this wave like to them? What is this experience like to them here? I think there's also about looking at it, especially now with the combined PWA IWT schedule. Where are we in the season? What's kind of next for them? Where are they, you know, how are they, you know, looking at the rest of their season leading up to Hawaii, to the grand finals? And also, you know, I think in general, like, where are they feeling with the new combined tour? Where are they feeling about their sport in general? Like, I think that there needs to be probably, you know, I would say 6 to 7 questions that kind of go from, you know, specific local Fiji Cloud Break, the tour, where we are in the tour, and then kind of maybe even bigger than that, kind of just more general kind of thing. And I think that also, depending on the responses or whatnot, a couple of those can be very simply edited into little writer moments that then can be kind of talked about, you know, oh, Antoine is da-da-da-da-da, or Baptiste is da-da-da-da-da, like however that works, and however it plays out for that. The interviews too, I think that there's also some things in here that if we're having a great day of sailing, of writing, that you may never use. But I think it's also important to have some things created that when things do get a little slow and do get a little boring, that you just say, you know, like, this is a great opportunity to meet the 4 writers in our finals, and we have a 15-second edit of you know, Jessica Crisp or whatever, and we have a little one of Jane Seaman, and that these are things, and then there can be a conversation about those writers, that little bits of media can kind of tee off to kind of take you out of kind of jockeying for position, waiting, and bring a little bit just more energy, and I suppose a little bit more interest to the viewer at home for those inevitable and probably guaranteed to come kind of dull moments, but let's hope we never use them. but I think that that's kind of also an important thing. And I think also, you know, it is a long broadcast. We're talking, if we ran 18-minute heats with 2-minute breaks, that's 3.5 hours. So, you know, if we're jumping up, you know, to 23 or 28, like I think the long one is like 28, we did the math and it was like 5.5 hours to do the math. 2 minutes.
No, the break, sorry.
Oh, we're allowed, we've got exclusive use from 12 to 6.
Oh, so you've got 6 hours.
Yeah, so we're within our exclusive use, and that, I mean, we're also run out of sunlight from the
I've
noon,
never
you know.
been there past.
Generally, the wind tends to die. Like, I mean, it has died.
From 4 onwards.
I mean,
it
that's,
starts getting
I
a
would
bit
also,
touchy.
I would also say it's a consideration when you think about heat lengths, because you're basically then running your finals into the worst part of the day.
Also, what's the thought about, you know, we call it finals day, but to me it seems a little unlikely to even be able to finish the entire finals day on finals day. But it might, but we have 2 days of good conditions, looks like, don't we? The 4th and the 5th. So planning for
You
only
could,
getting-
you could take the quarterfinals out and try to run the quarterfinals the day before if you have time.
So you only do one. The broadcasting is going to be just one day.
The big broadcast.
Big broadcast, yeah. This
Yeah.
thing, okay.
So in the lead up stuff, we'll be doing some practice broadcasting with
Yeah.
FBC, and which means we'll
Yeah.
capture lots of footage.
Yeah.
The idea really is to not try and dilute our audience, but to try and concentrate the
Yeah,
audience,
sure.
and to use all of that pre stuff so that it makes that day really
Yeah,
exceptional.
And I think that there's also something to be said about the finals day. Not just there's your live stream and people that are going to tune in. I think Fiji is in a bit of a difficult time zone for the world to watch. It's the middle of the night for Europe. It's pretty late for late in the day for the western side of the Americas. But what I think that the broadcast will be lived on on YouTube, and I think also still understanding that you're watching kind of like a cohesive or a good chunk of the action in one spot. There's something to be said about that.
Talk about the final day and extending the time, and if it ends up being a 5-hour, and we know that the wind dies, is there a possibility that finals are running the worst conditions of the day?
Well, this is the issue that we're going to discuss. I mean, I think we have 2 things to discuss. I mean, one is how the broadcast, we want the broadcast to look so that everyone looks amazing. So all the team of the media looks super slick and all the riders look super amazing. And we want to have that day on an amazing conditions so that everyone looks incredible. The second thing to discuss is how we get there with heats and how many heats on that day and how long those heats are. And they're very related things, but they're not the same things. I think we need to have a discussion with the wave community, like Robbie's been saying, to sort of see, is this format workable? I mean, we have to start right back there. We have to ask it.
It might be a good idea for the first day, if it's good, maybe run the quarters, and then you have way less
You can
to
get
do.
there, but that sounds
I
like...
think we're going to need 2 qualifying days
Yeah, me
to
too.
do this the way Robbie wants us to do this. And I think that means 3 days out on the reef with the flotilla. I think that's what you're saying.
I just don't see it working properly without
Yeah.
in the times. You know, like we've got 6 hours, but more like even 4 hours of wind.
Yep.
You know, because 12 is also, we've never really been there and starting at 12. It's been more like 1:30.
I mean, I'm sure occasionally we can.
And I'm sure there's days, but like those really windy days, you could probably start at 9 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, I think that's right. What the broadcast sheet shows is 2 qualifying days and a finals day. And how we divide that up, thanks, Brian. How we divide that up really is going to depend on what the riders ask for. There you go.
2 qualifying days, and then that's the finals day.
Now,
And each of these are basically the 2-minute breaks where we're trying to have some advertising within it. And there's been some, Air Fiji and Vodafone and the sponsors have all kind of voiced interest. Fiji Tourism have all voiced interest about putting some stuff in there. So it will also look like, we'll be right back. And we will go to we'll go down for 2 minutes and run basically canned ads, and then bring it back in. I also think moving forward with how this broadcast works, there's a lot of you want to show other broadcasters and other sponsors and other people that would be interested in participating in this. Oh, this looks like an event that I recognize and that I know. But when this is kind of my little quick mock-up of Cloudbreak, but I think what I would love to do is kind of take this idea and make this into, a 60-second thing with beautiful photography and a little bit more information that we were talking about trying to get a time lapse on one of the boats that goes out before then, all the way out from here. Great. Like kind of the journey out. I think that would be kind of informative to really show the distance that you're going. And a couple other things like that. So, but from a camera standpoint, here I can push this all in for everybody to see a little bit more. From a camera standpoint, we have our 2 drones that'll be flying, and I think Paul and I were talking about this last night. I think the mid drone is kind of the hero camera there. I mean, that's the one that's going to be kind of what I would call like a head to toe shot, but that includes wave and sail and whatever. So it's a wave to sail.
But it's
shot,
the shot
but
that we all know that it's the epic shot.
It's the hero shot, moving close. I think having another one operating at a different elevation. So we have one operating at our middle elevation, one operating at our higher elevation. Also, is kind of our safety to always cut out if there's some amazing action. If that one is following and on the end of a rig and there's something that's happening deeper in the set, we can always come back and still be capturing that and letting the lower elevation drone move into position again for whatever that is.
Brian, I just want to introduce.
Oh yeah.
And Bula, everyone, event director. Without him, we would not be happening and working.
Oh yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. Jim.
I'm gonna. Yeah, maybe we take a second.
Coffee's there? Oh my god.
Looking well. I like your hair.
There's hair now.
Jump right back to where Jason and I kind of started going, but I'm going to just jump back right to where we all kind of left off. But the idea is that,
Do you mind if we just swivel this just a little more like swivel it like straight down the is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So we were talking about our wide and mid drones kind of being our action drones. Paul and I were talking last night that these drones would alternate their battery changing. So basically, halfway through the set, the wide drone comes in, changes batteries. At the end of the set, Paul comes in and changes batteries. He'll be a little late getting out for the next start of the next set, but our high drone will already be back in position. FBC is going to provide us a wide and a long camera that will be from the trimaran or whatever. So we also have these as kind of backup positions. FBC, we also spoke with them about we're going to always have a camera on Kai. So in the broadcast, we can always kind of cut back to Kai. I think at some point, Ian, I would love to actually walk on the boat and sooner than later and actually kind of say, okay, this is where we're going to make Kai's announcer desk, and this is where we'll save, this will be the drones, these will be drone landing, and kind of map the boat out a little bit more. So I think everybody knows exactly where their positions are and like where's Jace's home for his gear and his batteries, and we're basically where's everybody's home, and everybody feels good and comfortable, and we can do a map of that prior to it. And then these two angles, on our safety jet skis, the jet skis' primary purpose is safety, and that is their only purpose. But what I would love to do is get a camera fixed onto them, and if it's a good shot, it's a good shot. But I think the idea is to move the vantage points. I got the pure water vantage point to a little bit kind of higher vantage point to our mid drone, so that it feels a little bit more dynamic. I think to somebody watching.
Can you get them wirelessly streamed to these?
We're going. So Vodafone setting up the network out there. So Vodafone should have a wireless network that we can all work off of. And then Vodafone's also creating the pipeline where we get a large 20 megabit upload to the internet for the actual stream. So hopefully we don't run into, this is more than we had last year. I think this is beefier, the system Vodafone's providing. So hopefully we have a clean broadcast coming out. But these would be GoPros. These would basically be wireless little GoPros that would be captured by the FBC's gear.
And I can, if I'm gonna be on the ski shooting, I can put a GoPro.
Oh, great.
I think I have the thing on that
Yeah,
goes
the little
on
slide.
the top.
Yeah.
The only thing you need to zoom a little bit because I'm gonna have the long lens and you can see the barrel of the
All right,
lens.
we'll figure out. That's fine. I'd rather have a zoomed in shot than
So at least
no
I'm
shot
not
at all. Yeah.
Pointing to the riders.
You're
rather
pointing
than
at the right
ski
spot.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. That's
And it makes no difference.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So if we have those, and it's kind of like, I see these, anything that's down here, kind of water, in the water or water level, I think that these are kind of more like action shots. These are something that like you're on the drone and then, oh, I can see Jace is in position to cut to Jace real quick and then you're back to the drone. Like these are just little things that I think, you're not going to ever live. None of these cameras, you're never going to like watch a whole run on it per se, unless you're kind of looking right down the barrel. I think that's kind of like a really awesome place to be. But
Well, yeah, that's the pinnacle, right, to get the action shot. But just like the WSL, the guy going by relatively slow because they're not planing, right?
yeah,
The jet ski is going to be close to the rider who's going back out. That is a very personal water level angle that's executable, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to stay on that for a fair bit of time. The guys going out, jet skis.
And they know us, or they can even ask us something, and you might get a little candid moment after the wave, which would be super cool.
well, I'm gonna just say I don't know about audio.
But the GoPro audio,
I don't know in the water housings if that even works.
they're on top of the water housing, the GoPro. They're not in the water housing, are they?
You might be able to get some audio off of his because
Yeah.
it'll be dry.
Okay.
Me in the water, it's going to be.
It's gonna be nothing in the water. But okay, look.
And
With all of this, I'm totally willing to give it a try. Like, I mean,
Even if we go
we're
the
all
whole
learning
day
here
and we
together.
get one cameo moment. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
then you,
still pretty cool.
You
Yeah.
just raised the bar of what
Yep.
Yeah, someone just kicked out of their sick wave right next to Paul, and then he's cheering for them, and then they're saying something. It's cool. It's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Sometimes Paul gets excited about stuff.
I don't get excited.
But
I think you don't even need the microphone to hear me.
But I think so that's kind of the overall like camera plot plan, and I think obviously, like I had just mentioned this to Jace, but like I think this will evolve and kind of tweak itself. But I think this is kind of the thinking behind it and where we want to be headed and why and how we can kind of move through the broadcast and make it feel dynamic. This is kind of an infographic in terms of these are our cameras coming into the FBC thing. We're going to be calling it live. We will also, FBC has told us that they have the ability to do replays. So if we do hit some really amazing moments, we should be able to come back to it and relive it maybe I don't know what kind of speed control they have in terms of slowing something down or speeding something up. But we'll find that out. We're supposed to have a call with them later today, but we can certainly bring replays into it, and then the other things that we'll be bringing into the broadcast are overlaid graphics into the broadcast that can kind of keep the conversation going for Kai, can also cover up some like duller, luller moments, and then pre-recorded edits that we're basically all going to be participating, I think, in creating or getting material and capturing material and making some of these prior to the broadcast. We were talking about this when we first started. This is a 2-day schedule. One of the things that I'm really keen on doing is, and this is what Simeon had said is kind of our little bit of our dilemma with the weather, is that the FBC is doing football 1, 2, 3 is the rugby. They are available to come to us beginning on the 4th. If we are running one of these days on the 4th, I would love, even if it's just internal, not necessarily broadcasting to the world, but the last kind of the last 2 hours of the day, we run it like we're going to run the finals, and we everything is ready to go like that. Kai will announce. We will edit live. I mean, the only difference is that we're not transmitting it to the internet, but I think it's also a good run through for all of us to kind of get our sea legs in terms of how the broadcast works and what worked, what didn't work, where did we go wrong, and so that we can all also come into the finals day. I think just a little bit more secure and a little bit confident in terms of what we're doing and where our strengths were, and let's not mess with that so much. But I think what's kind of fun about this day is like we can do everything, we can now give me the replay, slow it down, and like understanding no, that sucks. We'll never do that again, but but I think for everybody we can kind of go really big, or go kind of with every idea in our mind and then say, okay, this is our core capability, and this is what really worked, and this is what's going to be successful for the next day.
Now, just to recap there, so Robbie, those heat layouts there are entirely for show. I mean, that's not anything.
No, this is how it's happening.
Can I just ask a very quick question? Sorry,
yeah.
this GoPros, you can connect them to this broadcast, can you?
You can wirelessly. I have taken the wireless transmission on GoPro. They have the wireless transmission capability, and I have been able to capture it and use it as a live stream or live camera feed. All I'm going to say is that worked on the system I used in Los Angeles. Will that work on the system here in Fiji? I don't know that yet, but I also don't see like why it shouldn't,
So I see it completely possible with Paul on a jet ski, GoPro on top, that you keep that connection. You're going to lose connection every time that I go under the water. So how will it be able to reconnect?
Well, we're going to find out this week.
We will, right?
Yeah, we're going to find out this week. This is something that, this is what this meeting is about, is to find these questions. And then when we get a moment in the next couple of days, let's see what happened.
Because, yeah.
Pretty long, like 2 hours.
Not
I'm gonna have to have it on all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not switching.
Yeah.
And there will be times I will be in the water when they're going for a rescue. I have to jump off.
Yeah.
So we might lose connection or whatever.
The question is, can you get the connection back?
Now, just to be
Well,
clear
all the more reason why I think that GoPro has to be in a water housing.
Oh yes. Well,
Like-
They're waterproof to 10 meters.
Oh, like the hard.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
Now, just to be clear about comms, if there's a problem with the feed, you'll be able to sort of be on the jet ski with the comms with Ian or with Tim, and they'll hear it from the boat, and they can obviously relay it directly to you. If they say, for instance, it's turned off or whatever, we can do that.
Pointing at your face, not there, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
FBC is also we had spoken about comms with FBC, and they do have some comms in their package. There's obviously going to be the event comms, and then there'll be some broadcast comms, and probably I'd like to be somewhere where I kind of have both to just to make sure that everybody, where it's kind of like everybody can get the information and everything can be moving through.
Just super quick, the reason I ask is I don't know if it's going to be used or you can use it, but I've actually got a head mount with a surf cap that goes over the top for a GoPro, so I was just wondering if you can stick it on a sailor and get on the wave footage as well. But anyway,
if one of them wants to wear it in competition, I think that's up to them, but I wouldn't request anybody do something outside of, but it would be great to do.
It's just like wearing a surf hat. It's
what I'm saying is it would be great to do any time before then and use that footage into the thing. I think that would be great.
Yeah, cool.
I would love to get that on somebody. So here, this is okay. The additional elements. We were talking about the cloud break overview. We were talking about the Spirit of Fiji. Ian, now that you're here, I really would love. We're doing a pre-show so from 11:30 to noon is going to be a pre-show talking about the day, what's coming up, who's been hot this week. I think it's also a little bit about recapping, like we're really happy to be here on Fiji. It's been really great. I would love to have in there, because the way I see this, like you start with Fiji, and then you start talking about Cloudbreak, then you start talking about our riders, and you start talking about what's to come, and you kind of work your way through the pre-show in that type manner. But I would love to get something, and I don't know if it's reaching out to Fiji tourism or whatnot, that's a little bit more about like a longer piece. They sent through these ads that are they're very ads, and they're great. We can put those into the broadcast for the ads thing, but I'm just thinking something that's a little bit more like documentary, focused on Fiji and the spirit of Fiji and like what it, like I don't know, the Fijian way or something that's down this road that I think kind of brings in the culture and community. And it's not just about, this is awesome surfing, but it's also like, this is a beautiful culture that we're here, and we're blessed that we're able to kind of participate in this culture and be immersed in this culture. And then it's also really amazing that there's this incredible wave that's been provided. And then so we talk about that, but I think, so I'd love to kind of connect with you about where we can maybe get some of this, and because I think a lot of our cameramen and media team are going to be focused more on the water and whatnot, but
I can give you some topics that we can maybe talk about.
Yeah.
And then you can select, that's a good one, conservation one, or the one about what the schooner where the trophy is.
Yeah.
In his tribute for him, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, like if Fiji Tourism has already made a little conservation, like a 2-minute docu thing on conservation or something. I'm just actually looking for something that's maybe a little pre-made and that we don't have to.
Content that he's done around.
Oh, you have? Oh, great.
Yeah, we do some of the most amazing artificial reefs in the world.
Hey, well, I think we should definitely be talking about reefs. I think.
We want some content for that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to use
I
that.
think the mangrove stuff that you do, and I think the reef stuff that you do, as two related but separate little things. And I think also the way you're teaching kids to surf, all that sort of stuff, and the history of
Yeah,
it.
I love
I'll
things.
tell you what, now that we mentioned something, did you guys want to go out on the boat or something? I don't know.
On Thunderbird.
Did you say you wanted to go out and see some of the...
No, if somebody's going to the reef or anything,
Well,
can go and
we had a trip that was organized for these students from America that was supposed to take out this morning and left Candy. So we're just taking out some of the stuff, and so you guys can go on that boat. We've just launched, we deployed one of our core block pyramids yesterday, and you can actually park a couple other ones and take some footage of that. That'd be pretty wild, but it'd be a good day to do it, if anything, and then maybe have a feel of the boat too as
Yeah,
well.
well,
Go out to the side of Cloudbreak and just see.
Which boat are you talking about?
Thundercloud.
Oh, really? Okay, wow.
Thundercloud's out there ready to go.
Oh, wow. It's already out for the reef.
Yeah. Well, no, it's out here outside. So
All right,
we're
so-
supposed to go out around 10-ish.
Thundercloud is our mothership. That's what
Great.
it is.
Well,
That's the one you wanted to have a bit
for
of-
anything, I'm gonna go to Thunder. Like even, I want to make sure I have. Me personally, I don't speak for anybody else, but I want to make sure I have time to talk with the FBC and stay in.
That's number one.
Yeah, and I want to get some logos from Vodafone and.
No, we're trying to get them on the phone today.
Yeah.
You can do all that. You can
From the boat, there's cell
multitask
service?
everything of that on the boat.
Okay, great. Okay,
You
well,
can talk to
great.
them. We have good like 5G out there.
Okay, great. Well, then
And then
I'm
we can try to even get
I'm
the
down.
router so we can set that up so you guys can check. But if you,
I just don't want-
you
yeah.
can only get a router because there's no point to point. We're gonna get like a satellite so connection out there at the tower. The tower's gone, so we're gonna maybe mount it on the remains of the tower, which is
Yeah.
This is the
Fine
surf
post.
tower that's out of the
Yeah.
reef. Yeah.
And so we're gonna mount it on that, but they needed a cable to come to the.
Well, okay, so my question also with that, because I was also thinking about putting a camera, but I didn't know how safe it was.
Well, it's not safe.
Well, I mean, like, but is it safe enough to climb? Somebody can climb up and put something.
we-
on?
if we want-
the other day, weren't they?
Yeah,
I
if we strapped
filmed
a
it.
camera to it and left it there for the day, that'd be fine.
It's just
Okay.
a few posts. It's a few
Because
posts.
I was also thinking that could be like another cool vantage point. That's kind of opposite because it's like inside the reef there.
You
Like,
can see today.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to get onto the reef at certain times, especially if there's waves. Because the reef forms come in. But we've set up a Fiji flag there on Fiji Day.
Yeah.
So we know all about it. We can do it. It just takes a little bit of
And a GoPro would not get you much.
You got to decide what kind of camera you're going to put there.
Yeah, a GoPro would get such a wide angle, and it's so far from the action that it wouldn't really do much.
Well, you can zoom in on the GoPros. I don't know. Yeah. Is there a car? Okay. I have no idea. I just didn't know if it was a good idea or not. But okay.
It's probably not close enough to the action.
Okay. So anyways, so during our live broadcast, this would be kind of the screen that's most playing. We're going to have the PWA and IWT bugs in the corner. Those will be overlaid basically over all the action, plus the Fiji Surf Pro logo up here. And then we're going to have live scoring happening. We need to still test this out, but there will be live scoring. It won't quite look like this. This is actually my little make-believe rendition of it, but there will be a live scoring overlay happening at all times.
You plan on overlaying that on the actual broadcast feed that's going to be on YouTube? The scoring will be burnt into the image?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And just so you know about the scoring.
All of these will be burnt in.
Yeah. Okay.
This is, so like, we will edit it, it will go, the graphics will get put on, and then it will go out.
Yeah, just that makes it easy. Then people just watch it on their TV with and they don't have to mess around with watching the thing on the phone.
Nope, it should be like watching any other sport in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, one more question on
Yeah.
that for people watching. So the live scores there, you know, like you can actually see the individual wave breakdowns. That I don't know. Can we get like an HTML embed code so that you can put that what you see on live heats can go on a website, like so? Because that would be interesting to have underneath on your site and on the video. Like rather than having to go on their phone and search through something else to see
the live scoring shows all just like
exactly. I know how the live scoring looks when you do look at just the live scoring on your phone. That to be able to embed it on a website without them having to go anywhere else, so they can be watching the YouTube big and the live scoring right beneath. Because that's nice, but it's nice to see all the waves, you know.
And that's also very hard to see.
That's also hard to see exactly. Like it would be really nice, like for people who are really into it, to be able to have the the top of their window with the YouTube and underneath the live scoring thing from live heats.
My understanding is that that's
Okay.
I think for, as we go through our quarterfinals, semifinals, we'll have, cards at the start of each final for the writers in there, giving their seating, and then I have made these all ready for FBC, where we will also be putting down at the end of the heat the results. So where they placed, country flags. These little graphics are wherever possible. One of the things that I found difficult when I was watching the broadcast is, like Simeon was saying, he goes, "Oh, you got to watch Baptiste in this set. Like he's really great." And I was like,
Who's Baptiste?
"Yeah, exactly." I'm watching the. He's like, "Oh, it's the one in the green one." I was watching the white sail. So wherever I can, Tristan and I are going to be marking off what colors, and to some degree. I mean, obviously, some guys will have the same color sails. We'll try to do a little bit of a shade differential, but I do think that it's nice to have a little bit more, like any graphic on the screen should be a bit of information that the viewer at home can use and relay back to it.
We replaced the idea of jersey because the sail is the obvious thing that everyone can or can't see. We want to experiment with this. I mean, there's a bit of a challenge because the sails don't always have these simple colors of blah blah blah, but it's worth a shot. I think it's better.
Yeah, I've also played around with, if it's a duotone, like I take that graphic and I flip it around and I have two of them and it's like a purple and a yellow or whatever it is. We can play with how that actually works in the broadcast, but I do think it's something nice for the viewer at home, because I'm also thinking, I think as we were talking about before, I'm also just trying to think about, like, it's about avid action sports water people that aren't necessarily windsurfers, and but how do we create a broadcast that kind of can bring in a lot more kind of eyeballs and a lot more interest from other parts. Same thing, women's heat, they get the same treatment. There will be some things about, maybe in the pre-show, we were talking about doing some bullet points on tour notes. I would love to know if there are some important bullet points from a writer's perspective, because these are tour notes, but we could also have writer notes. And like, if there are something that are important kind of things that are happening or talking points from a writer's perspective, we can also make a graphic with a couple bullet points. And then that's something that basically in the pre-show, Kai and Jace can even, talk about and blah, blah, blah. It's just more kind of information. brackets. We also will be able to, as we go through, we'll be filling in the names of our brackets so you can kind of keep up to date with the action. This is for the men's with the quarter, semis, and finals.
Obviously pending the discussion.
Yep. Coming up, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this, to be honest, but like a lot of people are like, we're right back from the break. We could be right back with you with, the men's semis and, and following that, the women's finals. Like, it's also something, I think it's important for people to also be aware, to be aware of what's coming up, so that they're always feeling like I gotta stay with this. Oh, there's some more action coming, like right around the corner that aren't really like. Some people, like you said, are gonna have double screens up and they're gonna know exactly what's happening. But I think that there's other people that you want to just make sure you keep keep pulling them in as you go. One of the things we're also going to be talking about, whether we use this in the pre-show or sometime during the broadcast, but what's coming up in the season, what are our other big events coming up.
That's when we could use it twice.
Yeah, we can use it. I think, honestly, this may come up 3 times in the broadcast. It's like, some of it.
That's informative. That makes you understand the stakes of what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing, too, is where we all stand in the rankings. Just another thick talking point. If there's a lull or any of these type of things to talk about who's on top, what and maybe even make some predictions about how today will shake up the current rankings, blah, blah, blah. There'll be a lot of that. We'll have these for both the men and the women. This is our In Fuego highest heat scores. This, I think, is something that I was hoping we could actually use this in the pre-show for maybe highest heats prior to the finals day, and then also right before the men's finals. I'm going to be trying to update this with the highest heat scores from the day as a bit of a recap from, the action on the break. Wild card participants. This is something we were also talking about, potentially discussing during the pre-show, because there's a lot of different mix of riders that are all in here, and talk about the wild cards. Fiji Airways sponsored replay graphic. We do have, FBC does have the ability to do replays. I got to see exactly how that works in their system and if we can do it. But if so, we'll have a little. You'll know it's a replay and not kind of the live stream. And also when and where needed and how much of these we can create. We can also do a little specific graphic on the rider as a lower third. Or this lower third can also work as just an informative thing if we wanted to. This could end up saying coming up, and instead of it being up there, it could work as a lower third type of a situation. And then we have this little, we're going to have, like when we go to replay, I have this already animated, but there's just this little animation of the little wipe. It's a wipe with a map built into it that we can just wipe between some of the footage. Or, we can also use it, if it's kind of slow out there, I was like, we could also just use it when we just go from drone 1 to drone 2 or drone 1 to the boat, just wipe between our camera shots. I think just something to kind of have that very, like, I don't want to say NFL, but like it's a full graphics package. It's got all the kind of accoutrements that you would want from it. I mean, these can also get very fancy, and we could have all these animate on and do all these other things, which we will not be doing for this thing. But I think, it's a good stockpile of stuff for us to kind of show a level of professionalism. And then the thing to focus on kind of moving forward from here is really about these additional edit things and how we can start kind of pulling in all of this. So we kind of have this toolkit of pre-made elements and this toolkit of graphics. We have the system set up on the reef with their camera system. We have our announcers, we have our writers, and then it's just like, then it's playtime, and it's really just like show all of our goodies, and you throw them out as needed and paint a picture with it. It's kind of, that's my goal, at least. So very cool.
Did you marry into the family so that you could have this
I set it all up.
Yeah.
My sister gave a great sacrifice, Mary.
Years back with this, that you kind of
Been thinking about this a long time, eh?
2023.
Brian and I have had a
Well,
long
I'm
chat.
still, I still need to have a discussion with these two boys about my Outback that they took down a couple years ago down to Baja, and it never quite came back the same.
It definitely didn't come back the same. Definitely did not.
That's amazing. Well done. Yeah, it's yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully it all comes together.
Yeah, I mean, there's
everything.
and look, like, we are doing, I want to say, like, this is the team that's literally going to make this happen, and like, what I'm trying to do is use as many resources as we have available, and I don't, there's still a lot of question marks in here, and but this is the goal, and this is where I think we want to be headed with the tour, and we want this. I mean, I think in general, we're going to want this happening everywhere. This is going to happen in Pacas Mayo. This is going to happen at at Tenerife. This is going to happen in Hawaii. This will just be the way it is done. This event right now is step one. So I also want to just say, like, I think for everybody, like, what we can do is kind of lean into it, and if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. Like, we are building on this. This is the first step, and I think I would love for there to be lots of things to improve, because that means we're only making a better and better and better product, which I think makes all of these things more sustainable for the much longer term view of the tour and of the sport. And I think it also then can make it much more attractive to sponsors beyond board and sail makers and very industry specific people, but into sponsors that are larger and more global in reach. And I think that the rising tide rises all, is how it goes, so.
Brian, thank you so much for putting all the work into this.
Yeah,
My
Brian,
pleasure.
Thank
We're
you.
lucky to have you here. But we're also incredibly lucky to have all of you here. I mean, all of you are here because you're the best in the business. You're the best at what you do, all of you. So it's one hell of a team, and I just think this is an amazing setup. I really do. But with our ringmaster here, I think we're going to have a great show where all of your talents are going to be displayed. It's really going to sing.
We should definitely thank Ian.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys are very welcome. It's an honor to have all you guys here. It's something that it's great that Fiji can participate in one of your tours around the world, and we can be on that. And to be bringing you guys here, and for us to be upscaling ourselves and learning from you guys, and you guys learning from us, it's a real good mutual experience for all of us. And that's what we're here to do, is just share that experience, share the stroke, share the experiences, and make this world a better place.
Chin to that. Yeah.
And I really do appreciate Ian. He works all year round to make this event happen, and it's not an easy task. He holds a lot of the pressure in him, and I think that's very difficult to manage, and so we're all here to support you. We want to say
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you. As long as we help follow the same path, and we're trying to work together to sort of get the final goal achieved, which is making everybody stoked and getting this event being successful. I think we'll be okay. It's always, like you say, it's an evolving competition, evolving document. So every year I'm learning, you guys are learning, and our people are learning too. And that's why it's really good to be able to bring this and upskill our people and get them to understand this is how you need to be professional in the world, global world of competitions and water sports and so forth. It sort of upskills our people, and we start to become smarter and more valuable.
Well, and I would honestly hope that if we do this well, like, that next year this is on Fiji TV, and you even get some locals wanting to come out and take a peek in person, and that it does get a little bit more groundswell. Yeah, and I think what I think is also really fantastic about the way that at least the IWT side of the schedule is that it really becomes this, over a season, it's a tour of the Pacific Rim, from Japan to Fiji to Chile, Peru, and to Hawaii, and it is this kind of all, and it's wonderful, I think, from an a marketing advertising, that you really have an opportunity to show all of these cultures of the places you're bringing in. So I think it's really important to have that opportunity to highlight what's truly uniquely Fijian and what's special about that and why this is a special place in the world. So
So true. I think Fiji can, all the different locations that you guys go to, it's really exciting. And I think, Fiji can add value to that as well.
oh yeah, 100%.
Every culture is
Yeah,
different.
it's really unique.
No, it's not like, it's the same.
Yeah, this whole conversation is totally different when we have it in Japan.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a whole different thing. But I think there's something totally uniquely exciting about that as well. So it's
I have a question.
yeah.
Technical side. So
Yeah.
you have all the bugs and the graphics and all that sort of stuff. Is that going to be burnt into the image and you're not able to get it clean?
We so my okay. Look, I'm setting this up. This is the viewer at home, right? This is all of our cameras are coming into here. We're calling a live edit. The box is putting on all overlays and graphics, and it's being streamed to YouTube. We should be able to be recording and saving a clean version here
Of all the
at this of all we should be able to I don't know about
I mean, the edited.
the edited footage. I don't know that we're gonna have 4 hours of Kai saved just talking to the camera the whole time. I think we'll only get Kai when we're cutting to him, but we should be able to save a clean edited version of the feed. I don't know if on all these cameras. I just don't know. It's a good question for FBC, but my understanding is they're sending one truck and that would take two trucks worth of gear to save every feed and all the way through. But certainly, I think the edited feed that should, to my understanding, that shouldn't.
I
be a
just
problem.
mentioned it because someone somewhere, somehow, we're going to need to give a clean version or something.
Yeah.
Well, pulling right back from this, the footage from here will be obviously first and foremost it'll go live in the edited stuff. Second, it'll go onto the social media things, and then thirdly, it'll go into a whole series of post-production outputs. Mateo's going to be doing a post-production output of all the things for his client, Antoine, and they're going to be producing something. Jays will be producing something. Trishan will be producing something. And also, the writers will get the content and they'll produce their own things from those content sources. How we make that available, we're going to be using a thing that Russ has set up called Sync, which is this very large repository of media material. We'll have a Fiji file, it'll be broken down into all these different categories. One of the categories will be Fishbowl Diaries, one will be Jace, one will be Mateo, one will be Paul, etc., etc. And we'll have a lot of material in there. And we've got an unlimited setup of data, thanks to the way Russ has set this thing up. That link to that single source will be the link that everyone can go to and just grab it. Now, that's a link for all of the writers to grab. It's a link for all of the sponsors to grab. It's a link for all of the media around the world to grab. And that means that we don't have to keep sending it all out to everyone every time they ask. So that's going to simplify and streamline a lot of time and a lot of upload-download time. The other thing that it might go into, I think, is there's a film which Jace is contributing to, and effectively the event is contributing to, and that's for Sarah. Sarah's going to be Stephen's making a second film about Sarah, and so quite a lot of this footage is going to, some of it, we don't know which bits, but it's all available for that film. And the idea is to leverage all of this work that we're all doing as much as possible. Now, the sponsors of the event, Fiji Airways and Vodafone, have asked if they could have some sort of unlimited agreement use for some photos and some B-roll footage and things like that, so we've got to talk about how we give that to them. I've said yes in principle, we've had discussions in principle, but we're going to have to get down into specifics around that. So Vodafone wants to have some stuff, and Fiji Airways wants to have some stuff, and Tourism Fiji wants to have some stuff. In the end, it's in the interest of the tour. We just have to compensate and make sure that all the producers are sort of feeling okay about that particular kind of arrangement. Because that's one arrangement that most people don't like to give up. Like, you never like to give up unlimited anything. So we need to talk to them about what they want to use it for. it's good that they use it because it builds more media for us overall, but we have to make sure that, you know, all of you creators feel like you're getting a good end of that deal. So we'll talk about all of those things as those deals sort of unfold. But the idea is, as I said, like we're creating a core bit of work that then gets the leverage as much as possible. Thanks, guys.